Hello, we are doing the helmet of salvation in the pieces of the armor of God. So, and I apologize, I did not bring out my Bible or write down any Bible verses, so I'm all only going from memory. So you're going to have to give me a lot of grace in case I misspeak. Helmet of salvation. So, again, why do we have to put on the armor? Because we are in a spiritual battle. So the helmet for the Roman soldiers, besides just being something to protect the head, it also sort of identified them. Like it had this red, kind of brushy, feathery plume thing on the top. I think it was made out of a horse's hair or something. And looked kind of like a broom, like a brush. And so it would identify them. So you want to think of that like, your identity in Christ, right? People will talk about like, what hat are you wearing today, right? So that's common like in the work world. Like, are you wearing your brother hat, your sister hat, your mother hat, your father hat, your boss hat, your employee hat, whatever your role is. Like you're going to act different, you're going to walk different, you're going to speak different, you're going to carry yourself different based off what hat you're consciously wearing for that day. What role are you in? If you're somebody's supervisor, you're going to carry yourself one way, and maybe at home going out on a Friday night you're gonna carry yourself a different way, right? So what hat are you wearing when you put on the helmet of salvation? What identity are you walking around in? That's your like Christian, been saved hat. You want to walk like you're wearing that hat, right? Don't forget what hat, like that you've been saved. So there's the identity piece, and then the protection piece. I have my notes that are blowing around in the wind. So what do we protect with our helmet? We protect our heads. Why? What's in our heads? Our brain, our mind, right? So they always say the battlefield of the mind, because that's where you're going to have 99% of your problems anyway. Is your brain's going to think up some crazy stuff which may or may not actually be true, and you have to be able to filter through. Just like they say, like, oh, don't trust your feelings. It's very similar. Do not trust every thought you have. Like Bible talks about taking your thoughts captive, making them obedient to Christ. Like not every thought you got running through your head is actually factual in any way. Just because you think it doesn't mean it's true. Just because you assume it or you judge it of somebody else or you assess it and you're confident that it's the way it is, it does not mean that it's actual fact. It's just a thought, and that thought maybe needs to be taken captive, right? And made obedient to Christ. Like it's just not necessarily something you can trust. And then, so with things like anxiety, depression, anger, just ruminating about bad things, there's that whole neurons that fire together. Like the more that you're, having these same patterns of like thoughts about a particular topic, like you're gonna keep kind of going down that route. You're gonna make a super highway of anxiety in your mind or a super highway of anger. You have to be able to like retrain your brain. And if you start to see yourself going down that wrong path, to take your thought captive and like take a new course. And even if there's only one little neural pathway going on that new course, like if you do it over and over and over and you get better and better at retraining your brain and taking your thoughts captive, eventually you're not going to be walking down the anxiety path anymore, because you will have rerouted your neural pathways into a more calmer place. Like there's science behind it. It's not just like, oh, God gave me peace. Like, yeah, God gives you peace. There's that element, but also you have a responsibility to take charge of the craziness that goes on in your mind as well. What else did I have written down about that? Oh, and it's kind of like we were just talking about the parable of the weeds the other day. Like, the simplistic way to think about it is like good or bad people. But that, again, your mind can be telling you somebody's bad when really they're good. So it's like, you don't know. Who are you to assess? You genuinely don't know. Like it's a thing that happens where there's like children of God, children of the devil, but doesn't mean you can accurately assess who's who, right? And similarly, it's the same with thoughts. Like you'll have good and bad thoughts, or you'll have like love and anger. It doesn't mean that the anger in and of itself is bad. Sometimes you need to have that anger to be like a good warrior in a sense, you know, but you want to be really asking for wisdom and, you know, being very careful about all of those kinds of things that go on in your mind. Again, wear the helmet. A, for your identity, and B, for your protection, right? And then what is it's the helmet of salvation, right? So whose salvation? Just like every other piece of armor, God's truth, God's righteousness, right? God's peace. Well, this is God's salvation. So how do you put it on? How do you put on God's salvation? Like, you literally have to accept it, right? It's a gift, right? They say, you know, by grace through faith, blah, 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 whatever, which doesn't mean anything to the average person. But the reality is it's a gift. It's not like you're saved because your neighbor talked to you about Jesus one day. Like it's all a gift from God, and you have to accept it. If you spend your whole life in rejection, like no, like, and turning away the gift, you're never going to be wearing the helmet of salvation, and your mind is going to be purely vulnerable in a way where somebody else who has accepted that gift of salvation, they're going to be able to put on that helmet and be protected in a different kind of way than average Joe who declined the gift, right? Accept the gift. Stop saying no. Just be like, gifts are good. You know, nothing bad is going to happen from accepting this gift. So why not, right? What do you got to lose? Nothing. Choose to believe, call on Jesus, right? Put your faith in Jesus, that kind of stuff. So I apologize it took me so long to do the helmet of salvation. Every time I went to go study it or watched other people's videos about the helmet of salvation, I just found it to be the most boring topic ever. So this is my spin on it. My spin I find to make perfect sense, and I don't find it boring at all. So I apologize if I'm misspeaking or making any of this up in my own mind, but that is where we're going to go with helmet of salvation. We have one more, I believe, piece of armor. I think it's the sword of the Spirit left, and then we will be all done with all the pieces of armor. Have a great day. Bye.